Hello everyone, I hope this video finds you well as Shabbos approaches as well as Shavuos approaching in the coming week. There's a lot to talk about for Shavuos. There's a lot of preparation that needs to be done for Shavuos, not just the food part of it, but also the main point of Shavuos, which is actually, contrary to popular belief, not the food, but that is the acceptance of Torah that we are going to hopefully re-experience once again this year with Shavuos, which commemorates and is the day that we received the Torah so many years ago. This week's chapter of Pirkei Avos is the sixth and last chapter, and it is all about Torah, very appropriate for Shavuos, which is coming right up. I would like to focus on one Mishna in particular, and that is the fourth Mishna, Mishna Adalat, in the sixth chapter of Pirkei Avos. And the Mishnah reads as follows: Kach hi darka shel Torah. This is the way of Torah. Pas b'melach tochal, bread with salt you eat, umayim b'masura tishteh, and water you drink in small measures. V'ala aretz tishan, you sleep on the ground. V'chai tzar tichya, and you live a life of pain and deprivation. Uvatayra ata omel, and yet you toil and work in Torah. And if you do this, Ashrecha v'tovlach, then the verse in Tehillim and Psalms applies to you when it says that you are praiseworthy and it will be good for you. What does that mean? Ashrecha ba'olam hazeh, the Mishnah continues and says you are praiseworthy here in this world that we live in. V'tovlach la'olam haba, and it will be good for you in the world to come where the souls live on. Now, according to the vast majority of the commentaries, our Mishnah is not saying that in order to acquire Torah properly, you have to live a life of pain and deprivation. And evidence of this is in the fact that there are many of the greatest sages of our history, including Moshe himself, who were very wealthy. And they lived lives that were surrounded by wealth and maybe even luxury. And yet, obviously, we see that that was not a contradiction. So our Mishnah, when it says that the way of Torah is one of deprivation, doesn't mean that that's the only way to acquire Torah. But what it does mean, and I'll kind of try to blend a bunch of different commentaries together, I think it's all pretty much saying the same idea. And that idea is that when a person assesses his commitment to Torah, they need to be able to ask themselves honestly, where is my commitment? Is my commitment behind other commitments? Is my desire to ascend my level in Torah, is that preceding other desires that I have? Or is it on the back burner? Or is it non-existent at all? And that's really what our Mishnah is telling us. It's saying that when we think about our commitment to Torah, and we truly want to be fully committed to Torah, then we have to do just that. We have to fully commit ourselves to Torah. And if we're going to allow our pursuits in life to get in the way, and our pursuits in life, meaning in the physical, material things that we want, if we're going to allow that to get in the way and to proceed and supersede our commitment and our pursuit to Torah, then it's not going to work. In order for a person to properly accept the Torah and acquire Torah, to live a true Torah life, you can't have other focuses. Your focus has to be primarily on Torah growth. Now, if a person is blessed with wealth, even though their focus in life is growth in Torah, fine. They don't need to turn it away. They don't need to close down the business because it's being successful. No. We see from many sages that they were extremely wealthy. Even Moshe himself was very wealthy, and yet their pursuit in life was only Torah. Hashem gave them wealth, and we discussed a couple of weeks ago what the proper attitude towards that is, how a person should understand that having wealth is an opportunity to give to others, not to be self-indulgent. But the focus of life never changes. The focus of life needs to remain one of Torah excellence. If you're trying to acquire Torah properly in its fullest form, you need to make sure that that is your primary focus in life. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have comfort. It doesn't mean you can't have luxury. It means that if those are things that you're shooting for, they're going to take away from your excelling in Torah. So, for example, if a person is going to say, as the Rambam says, in the laws of learning Torah, Hilchos Talmud Torah, the Rambam says, and I will read it to you, I'll read the translation here to you. It says, lest one say, I will gather money and then return to Torah study. I will buy what I need and be free of preoccupation, and then I will study. Says the Rambam, know that if such thoughts enter your heart and mind, you will never merit the crown of Torah. What the Rambam is saying is that the thought of, I'll take care of everything else first, and this way I'll be free to learn Torah when I'm done, the Rambam says that is not coming from a place of wisdom, and that is coming from your Yetzer Hara. Because the reality of the nature of man is that the more physical things you have, the more physical things you want. Your barometer, I guess the way you measure your success and your the things that you want, the degree to which you want them, and the level of luxury that you want, all of those things are going to continue to grow. The threshold that you once set for yourself of where you want to reach in your wealth, in your comfort, in the home, your furniture, your car, whatever it may be, those thresholds, once they are met, you will notice have already been raised. And all of a sudden, there are new aspirations and new goals and new things that you want to have that you didn't even consider back then. And now all of a sudden, the things that used to be comforts, luxuries, and extras are now needs and necessities. And now the things that you want are all of a sudden on a higher bar, and there's a higher level to reach. And that is a process, it's a cycle that's going to continue to spiral upward. As you are successful, you will have more, you will want more. And therefore, if a person kids themselves into thinking, I'll get to a certain point and then I'll stop and I'll be able to focus on my Torah growth, the Rambam says that's not a good plan. It's not going to work. You will never merit the crown of Torah. So what we do need to do instead is we need to be prepared to say that if I'm going to focus on Torah, then I need to be willing to give up everything else. Because if I'm truly going to focus on Torah, I cannot allow other things to get in the way. And I cannot allow those things to take away my focus from growth in Torah. And therefore, in the future, when there comes a conflict, if I need to spend time focusing on the business versus spending time on focusing on Torah, I need to make sure that I'm committed. I'm committed to Torah. And if I'm committed to Torah, that might mean that there is potential for loss in the business. There is potential for a lack of gain in the business. And if I'm truly committed to Torah, then I'll be okay with that. Because it's not my goal. My goal is to grow in Torah. And sometimes that might mean eating bread and water. If that's what it takes, the Mishna tells us, you need to be prepared for that. Again, not that you have to do that. But if you are prepared to do that, and you're willing to say, I'll do whatever it takes to commit myself to Torah, even if it means not having the comforts, not having the luxuries, perhaps that I'm used to, perhaps that those around me are used to, perhaps those that other people consider necessities, and for me, I'm not going to do all of that, then I have a chance. Then I am truly committed to Torah, and my growth is something that I can expect to happen because of my commitment. The effort is up to me. The outcome is not, but at least the effort that I'm willing to put in, the commitment and even the sacrifice, that's what's going to pave the road to my growth in Torah. Now, there are obviously many, many people who are incapable of such, at least in their own minds. And if that's the case, okay, but at least give yourself a threshold. At least give yourself something, some sort of goal that you're going to say, I'm going to make the following commitment to Torah, and I'm not going to let anything get in the way. If it means a particular time of day that you're going to learn Torah no matter what, if it means a particular observance of a mitzvah no matter what, fine. Whatever it is, make a commitment. Make something that you're going to say, I'm not going to allow anything else to get in the way. There are people who, thankfully, are able to commit a particular time in their day to Torah learning, to Torah study. And sometimes, once in a while, there will be a conflict. And then they need to make a decision. They need to decide, where am I really focused? What are my true goals? Is it going to say that I need to give up my Torah learning because of this other, whatever it is that has come up? Or am I going to say, Torah learning is the focus, and that other thing, all right, it's just going to have to wait, or it won't be taken care of, whatever it is, but my true commitment is to Torah, so I'm not going to give that up. So if you're able to do that, then you are, to a degree, fulfilling what this Mishna is telling us. In order to acquire the crown of Torah, there has to be real, sincere commitment. And the attitude to this is famously explained with a story of the Chafetz Chaim, the great sage who was the leader of probably world Jewry before World War II, and he lived very simply. And a businessman once came who had the opportunity to meet the leader of his entire nation, to meet the saintly Chafetz Chaim, who was known the world over. He had an opportunity to meet him. He wouldn't pass that up. And so he traveled to go meet the Chafetz Chaim. So he came to the Chafetz Chaim's home, very, very simple, bare of anything pretty much but a table and some chairs and not much else. And he saw the Chafetz Chaim there, and he asked him, he said, "You are the leader of the Jewish people. The entire world seeks your advice, and you live like this? I mean, where's all your stuff? Where is everything? You are the leader. Why are you living like this?" So the Chafetz Chaim said to him, he said, "Well, where's all of your stuff? You're a wealthy businessman, obviously. Where is all your stuff?" And he said, my stuff's at home where I live. I'm just traveling here. I just have my suitcase with me. This is what I have for traveling, but my stuff is all at my home." The Chafetz Chaim said, "Me too. I'm also just traveling. This world is a mere 80, 90 years at the best, and then it's over. This is just a traveling through from the spiritual world to accomplish what we can accomplish and go back to the spiritual world. All of my stuff, everything that I've acquired in my life, that's all in that world to come. That's in my house that I have set aside for me in the world to come, because now I'm just traveling. So what do I need when I'm traveling? You travel with a suitcase. I travel with a simple home." It makes a lot of sense, because the goal of the Chafetz Chaim was always Torah growth, and that was how he was building up his house in the world to come, which was his real home. Another great story that I read recently is actually about a student of the Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, who was actually a Rebbe in the Chafetz Chaim's yeshiva. And Rabbi Chanan was once visited by a childhood friend of his who had become a wealthy lawyer. And he came to visit Rabbi Chanan and had a very similar reaction. He came to Rabbi Chanan and he said, "Al-Chanan, you were always much smarter than I, and yet I became a successful lawyer. If you had gone into law, you would have been extremely successful and you would have been extremely wealthy. And yet you've given all that up. And what do you have? Little." So Rabbi Chanan didn't answer him. They spent some time together, and then when it was time for this fellow to leave, the Rabbi Chanan escorted him to the train station. When they got to the train station, there were two trains on the two tracks, one heading east and one heading west. The one heading east was a very beautiful, brand new coach, velvet seats and luxurious kind of train that looked the part for somebody, the first class traveler. And the train heading west was just a regular train, kind of rickety, not looking very good, needed some paint, wooden benches kind of train. And this businessman, this friend of Rabbi Chanan, started getting onto that old train. And Rabbi Chanan said, "Hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? this train here heading east, it's a beautiful train. Look at it. It's full of luxury. And the guy said, well, yeah, it is, but it's not going where I need to go. I need to go west, and that's going east. Rabbi Nitekman said, well, isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth experiencing the luxury of this beautiful train in first class rather than going over there? And he said, no, it's not where I need to go. I need to go west. Going in the east train is not worth the luxury. I need to go west. And Rabbi Nitekman said, exactly. That's why I live the way I live. Because my goal in life is to head in one direction. And the luxuries that are along the way are not important, they're immaterial. It doesn't make a difference in the bigger picture because it's not going to get me where I go if I take the luxury route. So if I get on that train of luxury, of following my physical pursuits, of following all of the comforts that the world has to offer, it's going to take me in the wrong direction. That's not where I'm going. Where I need to go in life is not a luxurious train. It's just not the one that's taking me there. There are people who have that. There are people who are able to travel in their growth to Torah within a life of luxury, but that's not my lot that I was given. And I'm happy for what I have. But my goal is still traveling in that same direction. And the fact that the train is not a luxurious train for me, my life, okay, so be it. But I would certainly never give up traveling in that direction simply to have the luxuries of the ride. And therefore, that is the message that our Mishna is telling us. If we are going to truly focus on the direction of our lives, and we're going to try to become great Torah living Jews, then we need to be able to focus and say, I'm willing to give up because that's my goal. That's the direction I'm heading. And even if that means giving up on some of the luxuries and comforts in life, so be it. Because the bottom line is I need to get to where I'm going. And where I'm going, it's a life of Torah, it's a life of spirituality, and I cannot allow the draw of the luxuries and comforts that are taking the other direction to stop me. And therefore, we should take this lesson to heart, and with Shavuos coming up especially, we should be able to recommit ourselves to a life of Torah, even if that means giving up other things, because we should recognize that our focus, our purpose, should be single-minded, Torah growth, living like a Torah Jew, and that will bring us the greatness that we really want in the world to come. And hopefully, in merit of this, we will have a wonderful, not only Shabbos, and a very impactful and powerful Shavuos, but hopefully we will be able to course out our lives for the coming years, for the rest of our lives, to be heading in the right direction, regardless of which train we have to take. Have a wonderful Shabbos.